What's up, guys? Today we're talking about Roe vs. Wade in 10 minutes or less. Roe v. Wade is in reference to a court case that took place in Texas back in 1973. Essentially, a woman named Norma McCovey was pregnant with her third child, and she did not want to have that child, so she decided to get an abortion. But abortion was illegal in Texas at that time. The only way a woman in Texas could get an abortion back then was if her life was in danger by having the child. So two great women named Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey filed a lawsuit in U.S. federal court on her behalf, where she was given the legal pseudonym Jane Roe. The lawsuit was against her district attorney, whose name was Henry Wade. Hence, Roe, Norma McCovey, aka Jane Roe, versus Wade, her district attorney, Henry Wade. Her attorneys said the law was unconstitutional, that a woman had the right to choose, and the courts ruled in her favor. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that people have a fundamental right to privacy, which protects a woman's right to abortion. But they did not give women full access to abortion at any time, anywhere. The court states that the government's interests are to women's health and right to privacy, but also to the protection of prenatal life. So, what conditions is it okay to have an abortion and which are not? Well, this is a very deep subject, with many differing points and opinions. But Roe v. Wade brought forth a situation where the rules collided. Do we protect prenatal life or women's rights? And like any person with some moderate negotiating skills, yes, that's correct, they compromised. They said, hey, you can get an abortion, and it can be private, and you don't need to tell anyone. You don't need their permission. But it needs to be done in what we consider to be a reasonable period of time into the pregnancy. But this has also been a controversial topic. In fact, the ruling of Roe v. Wade ended up being one of the most controversial in U.S. history. But for 49 long years, Norma's ruling held strong, until a day in June 2022, where the courts ruled on grounds that the substantive right to abortion was not deeply rooted in the nation's history or tradition, nor was it considered a right when the Due Process Clause was ratified in 1868. Quick side note, the Due Process Clause basically prohibits deprivation of life, such as an unborn child. Since Roe v. Wade, there have been several other cases. In fact, the 2022 overturn was actually Dobbs versus the Jackson Women's Health Organization, which was just another case. When it was overruled, many in support celebrated, while others against it protested. The ruling was generally condemned internationally by observers and foreign leaders. The ruling is not a countrywide thing for America. It is in fact only in certain states that support it. And of the 26 states expected to rule in favor of anti-abortion or pro-life, they also have different sets of rules across those states. Some have a 6-week ban, meaning after 6 weeks you can no longer get an abortion legally. Others will have a total ban, meaning you could only get an abortion if your life was at risk, which would be the same as it was prior to 1972. Some of the total ban states are likely to be Alabama, Arizona, Michigan, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wisconsin. The future of abortion rights are uncertain. Some wonder where it starts and where it ends. Is sexual protection like birth control or a condom deprivation of human life? Does that go against the country's history and tradition? When is tradition important and when is it not? Growth isn't always pretty. With growth comes growing pains, mistakes, trying again, and rerouting. I think you want to be careful when you use words like tradition. It almost seems to make it acceptable to do unethical things if it's a tradition, to go against human rights if it's a tradition. Do we want to get better or do we want to stay the same? I also think a ruling like this may cause some people to feel like they have to leave their state, their family, their home, which seems to seek division instead of uniting people. And who is anyone to decide what someone else is to do with their body? It's their body, just like it's your property. If a human walks onto your property, you're legally allowed to shoot them if you feel threatened in states that have a stand your ground law, because it's your property and you feel threatened. So what about your body? And you feel your life is threatened by having to raise a child that you're not prepared to raise. Is your body your property? What about your body on your property? Who owns that? Some of the 38 states that have the stand your ground law are Alabama, Arizona, Montana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wyoming. All in all, the ruling seems to be a massive infringement on basic human rights, and many worry it may be the start of similar controlling laws. The best thing you can do is speak up and vote. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. This has been another 10 Minutes or Less.